The metal door slid open with a loud hiss. Darren stepped inside the cold, dim cell, holding a food tray in one hand and a confused look on his face. The woman sitting at the far corner slowly turned her head toward him. Her silver eyes locked onto his with a strange glow, not angry, not afraid, just watching. She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't say a word. He had seen hundreds of prisoners before, but never anyone like her. "Food," Darren said simply. Placing the tray on the floor near her, she didn't react. Her skin had a light blue tint, bruised around the neck and wrists where chains used to be. Her hair was white, long, and messy, falling like a curtain over her shoulders. Darren took a step back, but before he could leave, she suddenly spoke. "Have mercy. Please." Her voice was soft but sharp. "I'll bear you strong children." Darren froze. "What did you just say?" he asked, thinking maybe he misheard. She crawled closer on her knees, her eyes never leaving his. "You're not like the others," she whispered. "You didn't hit me. You didn't spit at me. You brought food, fresh food." Darren backed away slowly. "Look, I don't know what kind of game this is, but I'm not here for that." The woman tilted her head, confused by his reaction. "I offer what I must," she said. "That is our way. If I am to survive, I must bond with the strongest among the enemy." Darren's hand hovered near his holster, unsure if she was dangerous or just broken. "I'm just a guard," he muttered. "I didn't sign up for this." She crawled back to the wall and sat down, hugging her knees. "I was royalty once," she said quietly. "A war captain, first daughter of House Renkai." Darren raised an eyebrow. "Then what are you doing in a cage on a dirt planet?" She smiled sadly. "Betrayal. Cousin stabbed my back without lifting a blade." There was a long silence. Darren sighed and sat down near the door, not close, but not far either. "I'm Darren," he finally said. "No title, no house, just a human who wanted to stay alive." "Virea," she replied. "My name means storm with gentle rain." "That's poetic," he muttered, unsure what else to say after a moment. She looked at the tray, reached out, and picked up the bread. She sniffed it, then took a small bite, chewing slowly. Darren watched her carefully, noticing how she winced every time she moved. "How long you been down here?" he asked. 27 cycles, she answered. "Your time?" "Maybe 2 weeks. They treating you all right?" "They treat me like a tool they don't know how to use." The air turned cold again as silence returned. Then Virea whispered something that made Darren's blood run cold. "If I enter heat in this cage, it will not end well," he frowned. "What do you mean?" "My kind," she said softly. "When the cycle begins, our minds burn and our bodies change. If the process is interrupted, my powers will rise without control." Darren stood up quickly. "Is that why they're keeping you isolated?" She didn't answer. "I need to report this," he said, stepping toward the door. "No one will listen," she replied. "They left me here to break or explode." Darren paused, hand hovering over the exit panel. "I won't hurt you," she said quietly, "but if the moment comes, you must not be here." He nodded slowly, confused and worried. Before he left, he looked back one last time. Virea sat still, her eyes glowing just a little brighter than before. She whispered to herself, words he barely heard. "One of them will claim me, but only one will be strong enough to tame me." The door slid shut, sealing the cell, sealing the storm. Darren walked down the corridor, heart racing. This wasn't just a prisoner. This was a bomb counting down, and someone wanted him close when it went off. Darren didn't sleep that night. He kept hearing her voice again and again, soft and strange in the back of his head. "Have mercy. I'll bear you strong children." No one had ever said something like that to him. Not in war, not in peace, not ever. He told himself she was just scared, maybe even playing some trick. But deep down, he knew there was more. The next morning, he went back to her cell, even though he wasn't ordered to. This time, she was standing calm, hands folded in front of her, her back straight like a soldier. "You returned," she said. her silver eyes flickering in the dim light. "You didn't give me a reason not to," Darren replied, voice low. She gave a small nod, then looked down at her hands. "Your people don't take offers like mine." "Do they?" Darren raised an eyebrow. "Do you normally offer children to every man who brings you breakfast?" That made her smile, just barely. "In my world, strength earns life," she said. "A weak mate leads to weak children lead to extinction. And you think I'm strong?" He asked, unsure if she was mocking him or not. "You didn't hit me," she said. "You didn't chain me harder when I spoke. You listened. You have power, even if you don't show it." Darren walked closer to the energy field between them, the soft hum filling the air. "Listen," he said. "I'm not here to mate with you, or whatever it is you think this is." She looked up at him slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then why do you come back?" That question hit harder than he expected. He didn't know. Not really. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, not with hate or fear, but curiosity, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Or maybe it was because every other day in this war had been filled with shouting, killing, silence until her. "You're different," he finally said. "You talk like a warrior but sit like a poet." "My people are both," she replied. "Poetry and war were never enemies in my house." There was a pause, then she walked closer to the barrier, her eyes watching his face carefully. "You feel it, don't you?" she said quietly. "The link starting to grow." Darren frowned. "What link?" "Our biology search for connection," she whispered. "You spend time near me. Your body starts to adjust, respond. That's how selection begins." Darren stepped back, a sudden shiver running through him. "You're saying this is some trap? That you're doing something to me?" "No trap," she said. "Only nature." Darren turned, pacing near the door, trying to breathe. "I didn't sign up for this," he muttered. "I was told you were dangerous, not whatever this is." Varela looked at him sadly. "Dangerous and gentle both can exist in one soul." He glanced back at her, something burning in his chest he didn't understand. Before he could speak again, a voice crackled through his wrist. "Come. Guard Darren. Report to command immediately. Level 2 alert." He pressed the button. "Copy. On my way." As he stepped out, Varela called out softly, "Be careful, human. Someone is moving pieces behind your back." He stopped, eyes narrowing. "What do you know?" "Not enough," she said. "But I smell blood coming, and it's not mine." The door hissed shut again, locking her inside once more. Darren walked fast through the corridors, trying to shake off her words. The base was buzzing with soldiers. Alarms low but steady, faces tense, weapons ready. When he reached command, the officer on duty handed him a file, thin and marked "Eyes Only." He opened it slowly. Inside were surveillance images of him and Varela, talking, sitting, crawling toward him on her knees. There were notes, red circles, and a single word typed in bold at the bottom: "Progressing." "What is this?" Darren asked, his voice turning sharp. The officer didn't look him in the eye, just replied, "New orders are coming. Be ready for reassignment." That night, Darren didn't return to her cell, but he couldn't sleep either, because now he understood. She wasn't just watching him. They were all watching her, and through her, him. The storm began with silence, not thunder, not screaming, just silence so deep it made the lights flicker. Darren was still sitting at the edge of his bunk, boots on, back straight, eyes locked on the floor. He hadn't slept, hadn't even moved much. The word in the file, "progressing," wouldn't leave his mind. He wasn't sure what scared him more, the alien woman in the cell or the humans running the base. A red light flashed above his door, followed by a deep buzz. It wasn't an alarm, it was a lockdown. Then the base trembled, just once, like something had shifted deep under the surface. Darren grabbed his jacket and ran out, boots hitting the floor hard, down the corridor. 2 guards ran past him shouting, "Containment breach, Sector C." Sector C, that was where she was. He didn't wait for orders, didn't ask for permission. He just ran as he neared the cell. Smoke curled from the hallway walls, small fires from shorted circuits, flickering lights dancing across the gray metal. When he turned the final corner, the force field to her cell was gone, the panel outside sparked and smoked, wires melted, glass cracked. Inside she was still there, Varaya. Kneeling in the middle of the room, her hair glowing faintly, her skin giving off a soft blue light like moonlight over a frozen lake. But something was different. Her breath came in short, shaking gasps. Her hands gripped the floor, claws out. Back arched, she looked like she was fighting herself. "Varaya," Darren said, not stepping inside yet. "What's happening to you?" She didn't look at him right away, then slowly her head turned, her eyes. They weren't silver anymore. They were shining white, like they held stars inside. "It's starting," she said, voice trembling. "The cycle, the heat." Darren's hand went to his weapon. Not to use it, but to feel grounded. "Is this what you warned me about?" he asked. She nodded once. "I tried to hold it back. But your presence, your voice, your scent. I can't fight it now." Darren stepped forward, but the air felt heavy, like something unseen was pushing him back. The temperature in the room dropped, then rose again sharply, steam rolling off her skin. He saw the scars on her arms begin to glow. Ancient symbols lit up across her shoulders and chest. "What are those?" he asked quietly. "Marks of my bloodline," she whispered, shaking. "They activate when the old instincts return. Then we need to get you out of here," Darren said, stepping fully into the room. She growled low, not angry, but filled with warning. "Don't," she said. "You'll be caught in it." "I'm already caught," Darren muttered. "There's no going back now." She looked up at him, tears mixing with the glow on her cheeks. "I don't want to hurt you," she said, "but I won't be myself much longer." Darren looked around. No tranquilizers, no med team, just him and her body trembling like a volcano ready to erupt. He crouched beside her, close but not touching. "You're not alone," he said, voice steady. "I'm not leaving you in this." She opened her mouth to speak, then screamed. It wasn't a cry of pain, it was something older, deeper. A sound that shook the lights and cracked the floor tiles beneath her. Darren winced but didn't run. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out something he hadn't touched since Earth. A small audio player. He clicked it on, and a soft melody filled the room. It was a lullaby, old, human, slow and warm. He didn't even know why he had it. Maybe from childhood, maybe from a time before war. Varaya went still. Her body still burned with power, but her eyes softened, her breathing slowed, her head tilted. As she listened, the light in her veins dimmed just a little. "You sing with your machines," she whispered, smiling weakly. "Strange human." Darren chuckled softly, heart still pounding. "Yeah, well, sometimes music does what bullets can't." She lay down slowly, curling into herself like a child. "I can hold it now," she said, voice faint. "Just for a little while." Darren sat beside her, keeping the music playing. The bass outside was in chaos, alarms, yelling, footsteps. But none of that reached the cell anymore. Only the soft sound of the lullaby. And two creatures from different worlds, breathing in the same rhythm. Asterisk, the file wasn't supposed to open. It had red locks, black warnings, and a line at the top that read, "Classified, genetic breeding directive, eyes only." But Darren had the access code now. He didn't ask how it appeared in his compad that morning. It was just there, blinking like it was waiting for him. He tapped it, heart pounding, mind screaming not to inside. The file wasn't long, only 6 pages, 2 images, and one name, Varaya. Subject 7, a royal breeder class. His mouth went dry as he scrolled. The report was cold, written like she wasn't a person, just an experiment. It said her bloodline was the last of a warrior queen family, that her DNA held unique seed-bearing compatibility with certain humans, and at the bottom of the file, in large bold letters, it read, "Optimal human match." Darren Cole. He pushed the screen away, breathing fast match? What did that mean, match for what? He didn't want to believe it, but the dates lined up, the mission orders, his reassignment, his sudden transfer to this backwater moon. They didn't put him here by accident. They chose him, and she didn't. No, she thought she was a prisoner of war. Thought this cell was just a cage, not a lab, not a test room, not a breeding vault. Darren stood, grabbed the pad, and stormed toward her cell. He didn't care about orders anymore, didn't care who was watching. The truth had weight, and he was done carrying it alone. He entered the chamber quietly, finding her sitting in the corner again, arms wrapped around her knees. She looked weak today, like the energy burst from the other night had taken something from her. When she looked up and saw him, she smiled, not with mischief, but with something close to warmth. "You came back," she said softly. He sat across from her, dropped the pad between them, and said, "Read this." She reached for it slowly, her fingers trembling. She read the first line silently, her lips moving with each word. Then her face changed. First confusion, then horror, then something else, betrayal. She dropped the pad like it burned her skin. "No," she whispered. "No, this is not true." Darren nodded. "I didn't know, Varaya, not until today." Her eyes filled with silver tears, glowing in the dim light. "They took my war, my freedom, my name, and now they want to take my womb," she said bitterly. She stood slowly, her hands clenched, her body shaking, not from weakness, but from rage. "I was born to lead, not to be farmed," she said, her voice sharp. "They captured me not because I lost, but because I was perfect for their plan." Darren rose too, stepping closer. "We can get out," she laughed once, bitter and low. "You think they'll let you go now that you know?" He looked around the cell, then back at her. "Then we don't ask, we run." She studied him quietly. "You'd run from your people, your command, your world. For me, I'd run from anyone who thinks you're just a project file." He said. Varaya closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, then nodded. "Then listen. And listen well," she said, walking to the back wall. "There's something I never told you." She placed her hand on the cold stone panel, and suddenly a hidden mark lit up, an ancient crest carved into the wall, a secret symbol, older than the base itself. With a low grind of stone and sparks, the wall shifted, revealing a narrow tunnel. "This outpost was built on the bones of my people's ancient war sanctuaries," she whispered. "We hid things the humans never found." Darren stared, stunned. "You had a way out this whole time?" She turned to him with a strange smile. "I had a way out, but no reason to use it." He blinked, heart catching on her words. Now she had one. Behind them, the alarms began to blare. Security breach in Lab Wing B. Unknown signal detected. All staff report immediately. They looked at each other once more. She reached out and took his hand, her grip strong and warm. "If you follow me, there's no coming back," she said. He squeezed her fingers and replied, "I wasn't planning to." Then, together, they stepped into the dark tunnel, as the walls sealed behind them like the closing of an old, forgotten book. The stars looked different from this side of the fence. For the first time since she was captured, Varaya stood under open sky. No walls, no flickering energy fields, no guards breathing down her neck, but freedom felt heavy, not light. Darren stood beside her, breathing hard, still holding the stolen rifle tight in both hands. They had escaped the underground tunnels, slipped through the weak perimeter fence, and now they stood on a quiet ridge just beyond the base. Below them, the dry desert stretched for miles, glowing faintly under the twin moons. "They'll come after us," Darren said, scanning the dark horizon. "I know," Varaya whispered. "But they'll come thinking I'm still the same woman they locked in that room." He glanced at her. "And you're not?" "No," she said simply. "I'm worse." She took a step forward, the sand glowing softly around her bare feet. Darren followed, his boots crunching quietly behind her. Every few minutes he'd glance up, half expecting a drone or tracker bot to buzz overhead. Nothing yet, just wind, stars, and the strange glowing blue of her skin in the moonlight. They walked until they reached a rocky slope, where jagged stone teeth rose from the sand like broken bones. Viraya stopped there, crouched, and placed her hand on one of the sharp stones. "It's buried here," she said. "Something I hid long before I was captured." Darren raised an eyebrow. "What kind of something?" Without answering, she dug into the sand, her fingers quick and sure. After a few minutes, her hand hit metal. She pulled it free, an old worn cylinder wrapped in dark cloth. Inside was a sword, curved and alive-looking, its edges humming faintly. With ancient energy, Darren took a step back. "That thing's glowing. It should," she said. "It was carved from a creature that no longer exists." She gripped it tight, and as soon as her skin touched the hilt, the blade pulsed brighter. "Like it remembered her. I'm not just some royal breeder," she said, standing tall now. "I was a general once, and I still remember how to fight." Darren stared at her, quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Remind me not to make you angry," she smirked, but the smile faded quickly. From behind the hills, lights flickered red and blue, moving fast. "They're close," Darren said, raising the rifle. "No," Viraya replied. "They're already here." Suddenly from above, a sleek black aircraft slid into view, silent, deadly, its nose already pointing their way. It hovered, then dropped a group of armored figures to the ground, tall, pale, wearing the mark of the alien generals. Viraya's face went cold. "They sent him," she whispered, almost to herself. Darren looked confused. "Who?" "My cousin," she said, gripping the sword tighter. "The one who betrayed me. He wants my blood, not to kill me, but to sell me back to them, piece by piece." The soldiers moved in a circle, forming a trap around them, slow and steady. Darren raised his rifle, but Viraya put a hand on his arm. "Let me speak first," she said, stepping forward. Her cousin walked out from the group, face smug, voice smooth. "Viraya, I knew you'd crawl out eventually. You never had the strength to hold me." She replied calmly. "You're not here to fight," he said. "You're here to make a deal." She looked him dead in the eyes, then spat on the ground. "Here's my deal." With one quick motion, she raised the sword, and the entire night lit up with blue fire. The soldiers flinched, some backed away, but her cousin only smiled. "I wonder how your human will feel when he learns what's in your blood," he said. "What you truly are." Viraya didn't blink. "He already knows." And then she moved, faster than any human could follow. Darren didn't fire. He didn't need to, because in that moment, she wasn't a prisoner or an experiment. She was power-sharp, ancient, and furious, and she had just declared war. Asterisk blood shimmered in the moonlight, not red, but silver bright and strange, soaking into the sand where Viraya's blade had struck. She stood over the last fallen soldier, her sword still humming softly like it was breathing with her. Darren didn't speak, didn't move. He had never seen anything like it. She didn't fight like a person. She fought like a memory from a forgotten war, with grace and fury locked in every step. And now she stood there, chest rising and falling, her eyes glowing bright in the night. "I didn't want to kill them," she said quietly, not looking back. "But they would never stop hunting me." Darren stepped forward slowly, his rifle lowered. "You did what you had to," he said. "They made you into a target, then sent your own family to finish the job." She finally turned to him, her face calm but tired. "My cousin won't stop," she said. "He'll call in more, and they'll bring something worse than soldiers next time." Darren nodded. "Then we move fast." They gathered what they could, supplies, gear, and one of the enemy comm devices. Darren cracked the device open, rewired it, and began scanning the airwaves. A few clicks later, he picked up a faint signal, one he hadn't heard since the early war. It was old, hidden beneath military codes, but it was still alive. "What is it?" Viraya asked, leaning over his shoulder. "A rebel distress line," he said. "It's coming from the ruins up north. The old moon base they said was abandoned." She narrowed her eyes. "That base used to be ours before the humans took it." There are still secrets inside it. Then that's where we go. Darren said. They started moving again, heading north across cracked desert stone. No roads, no lights, just instinct and shadows. Hours passed in silence except for the wind. Darren limped slightly, his side still sore from earlier fights, but he didn't complain. Varaya noticed anyway. "You're hurt," she said. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because we didn't have time," he replied. "And because you already carry too much." She looked at him for a long moment, then stopped walking. "Sit," she said firmly. "I'm fine," he muttered. "Sit," she repeated, voice calm. But unshakable, he sat, and she knelt beside him, pulling his shirt up to see the injury-deep purple bruises and a small cut. She placed her glowing hand gently over it, and he winced, but didn't stop her. A soft heat spread across his side. And slowly, the pain faded. "Is that some kind of alien tech?" he asked, surprised. "No," she said softly. "It's something only women in my bloodline can do. We share our life to heal others." He stared at her, feeling the warmth fade into a gentle calm. "You didn't have to," he whispered. "No," she said, standing again. "But I wanted to." They kept walking, and as the sky turned darker, they finally saw the shape of the ruined base tall, broken towers rising out of the dust like bones. As they got closer, they noticed movement, not enemy scouts, not drones, children, 4 of them, hiding behind a broken wall. Eyes wide, clothes torn, Varaya slowed, her face changing instantly. They weren't human, small alien children, maybe her kind or something close. One of them stepped forward, shivering, holding something tight in her arms, a ragged doll made of wires and cloth. Darren raised his hands, voice soft. "It's okay, we're not here to hurt you." A woman appeared behind the children, tall and thin, wearing a cracked breathing mask and an old rebel badge. She saw Varaya and froze, her eyes wide. "You," she whispered. "You're still alive." Varaya narrowed her eyes. "You know me?" The woman nodded, removing her mask slowly. "I was your scout, before the fall. We thought you were dead. I was locked away." Varaya said, "But I'm not anymore." The woman nodded, her voice trembling. "We've been waiting for something to change. Something to fight for again." Varaya looked around at the scared children, the broken buildings, and the small fire burning low inside the ruin. This was what her people had become. Not warriors, not rulers, just survivors. Hiding in the shadows, Darren stepped beside her, placing a hand on her back. "We can still build something," he said, "if we fight smart." Varaya looked up at the broken sky, the stars cold and far. "I don't want to build an army," she said. "I want to build a future." And this time, her voice didn't sound like a soldier's, it sounded like a mother's. The stars were quiet again, but now they watched something new unfold. Varaya sat near the edge of the ruined tower, the wind brushing through her white hair as she looked down at the small village they had built from the wreckage. Children laughed below, not hiding anymore, not afraid. Some were hers. Many weren't, but they all followed her like she was their sky. Darren walked up behind her, dusty and tired, his rifle slung over one shoulder. He dropped beside her with a sigh, letting his back rest against the cracked wall. "I finished setting the new motion sensors," he said. "Nothing's getting close without us knowing." Varaya nodded slowly, her eyes still on the village. "You're starting to sound like a commander," she said. Darren chuckled. "I guess being around one for so long finally rubbed off." She smiled at that, a soft, real smile, the kind she never wore back in the cage. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the fire crackle down below and the faint sound of someone playing a flute badly, but with heart. Then Varaya spoke, her voice quiet. "Do you think we can really keep them safe? For years? Maybe forever?" Darren looked out at the desert, then at the sky, then at her. "I don't know about forever," he said, "but I know no one will ever take you again. Not while I'm breathing." She turned to him slowly, her eyes softer now, not glowing with power but with peace. "Back when you first found me, I thought the only thing I had left to offer was my blood, she said. My strength, my womb, my body. But I was wrong. You were, Darren said. You had your heart too. She reached out and touched his hand, not as a warrior, not as a captive, but as someone who finally had the freedom to choose. You were never chosen by some file. She said, you chose me, and I chose you. He looked down at their hands, then up at her face. That's the only match that matters. From behind them, a voice called out, young and full of excitement, Mother! Come see. They turned and saw a small girl running up the hill, her skin pale blue, her eyes like Darren's brown, curious, brave. Varaya stood slowly, waiting as the girl ran into her arms. There's a bird nest near the water pump, the girl said. They're hatching. They're hatching right now. Varaya laughed, lifting her daughter into the air and spinning once. Then let's go welcome them, she said. Darren watched them for a moment, then followed. He never thought the war would end with him planting crops beside alien rebels or building homes from broken towers. He never thought he'd love someone from the other side. But now, here in the quiet edge of the galaxy, he found something better than peace. He found purpose. Later that night, as stars filled the sky again, Varaya whispered into the wind, I was bred to birth warriors, she said. But instead, I chose to raise hope, and hope was stronger than any blade.